Okay, so good morning everyone. With the recent technological advances and the increase of access of the teenagers to the World Wide Web and social media accordingly, many concerns have been brought up with the content they are being exposed to. Now, according to an article on telegraph.com.uk.co by Elizabeth Anderson published in 2015, which is really recent, teenagers spend up to 27 hours a week on social media, which is quite shocking and should definitely raise concern, not only to people with younger siblings, but people that are hoping to have children one day, or actually anyone concerned about the new generation. Moreover, teens appear to be increasingly prefer social media services like Instagram, Yik Yak, and Snapchat, where their parents are unlikely to be members, which raises the concern regarding the content of social media networks that makes them prefer their parents to be out of the picture. Now, as an older sister, I have a younger sister and she's of 16 years of age, this matter was really concerning to me, and I'm happy that I got the chance to actually talk about this and raise this issue. Social media consumption and the material youngsters are being exposed to has always had me thinking. Will I ever accept the fact that my younger sibling is being exposed to such disastrous content? Content such as violence, pornography, racism, unacceptable jokes, and so on, hate speeches. So today I would like to raise the concern and persuade you that the risks associated with social media consumption by minors below the age of 18 can be extremely harmful for them, for their mental and physical health, and it should be banned for them. Now, before I go on, many people would argue with me that why would you want to ban social media? It already has age verification. Now, I would like to inform you that the age verification procedures when signing up for social media consumption can easily be overcome at any age. According to an article by CNN by Doug Gross published on 3rd November 2009, the number of children flaunting minimum age restrictions and requirements on social media networks such as Facebook has been growing rapidly. If this matter is not reconsidered, the health of the future generation is at the risk. Now, according to the same article published by CNN, use of social media websites by pre-adolescent ages can be linked to internet addiction in their later on lives and their adulthood, and damage their relationships and so on. Now, before I start, I would like to inform you what social media is defined. Now, social media is any form of electronic communication, such as websites of social networking and microblogging, through which users create online communications to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content such as video games and videos and so on. This is according to the Webster Dictionary. Now, according to Pew Research Center studies in 2011, 81% of youngsters between the ages of 13 and 18 are members of social media. Now that you understand what social media is and how easily age restrictions can be overcome by youngsters, and that age restrictions really don't matter anything, I would like to inform you about some of the negative impacts of social media to persuade you why it should be banned for them. Now, the most important risk associated with social media, in my opinion, is the content that these minors are being exposed to. To begin with, we can all easily witness the ever-growing sexual content of social media networks. Exposure to mild or even extreme pornography in social media networks can be very harming to minors. Their mental health and perception of the healthy sexual behavior. I think we can almost agree on the fact that it's almost impossible to avoid such content as they pop up anywhere on social networks. According to an article called Mass Media as a Sexual Superpeer for Early Maturing Girls by Brown J.D., published in 2005, exposure of young girls to inappropriate sexual content in social media can cause early puberty in them. which can transition into early sexual behavior, and such content is often portrayed as acceptable behavior in social media. So the sexual content in social media promotes unhealthy and unsafe behaviors rather than beneficial, appropriate ones. Now, the other questionable content that youngsters are being exposed to is violence content. Do we really want our minors to be exposed to such violent happenings around? Such contents raise concern about the fact that violent behavior has become so common and unacceptable among not only youngsters but everyone else as well. Now, according to an article called "The Social Media Perpetuates Youth Violence" by Brittany Bostic, member of the American Psychological Association, published in February 2014, frequent disclosure to violence in youngsters in social media can have unfavorable consequences in them. In addition, such youngsters are more probable to show antisocial behavior, also while even playing with their toys, and feeling hostile can be observed in them. Now that I have discussed how the content in social media can have diverse effects on youngsters, I would like to make a second point and talk about how social media accounts provide the environment for cyberbullying and impersonation of predators to target youngsters and minors below the age of 18. You never know who the person behind the virtual account is. It is interesting for you to know that, according to the Universal Journal of Educational Research, in an article called "Cyberbullying" by Charles, published in 2013, anonymity can cause youngsters who would not normally engage in bullying to act as such and become a cyberbully. And social networks provide such environment very efficiently for such people. Now, this matter really highlights the necessity of my claim of banning social media from minors under the age of 18. In another article published in the North American Journal of Psychology, named "Dangers of Cyberbullying," published in 2014, almost 75% of minors in school age have experienced cyberbullying. That is a shocking number. At least once a year. Victims of cyberbullying are 2.5 times more likely to misuse drugs, alcohol, and suffer from depression, and are also more prone to attempting suicide. Social networks have literally become the schoolyards for bullies. Now, moving on to another point of why social media should be banned for minors below the age of 18. Engaging in social media before reaching the maturing age of 18 can have adverse effect on their mental health of youngsters, their self-perception and self-esteem. And give them unrealistic beauty ideas for them. According to Caroline Norton, in an article called "Is Social Media Giving Your Teen a Negative Body Image?" published on commonsensemedia.org in 2014, because of the photocentric social media networks, youngsters are constantly being exposed to flawless bikini bodies, six-packs, great abs, and great hair all day. You can all see that. This does not limit to celebrities, but everyone. Idealized illustrations of human perfection has pushed their limits, which has increased the kids' anxiety and lowered their self-esteem. The superficial and virtual world of social media has turned into a battlefield of who's prettier, who's richer, who has a better life, and who's having more fun. The social media negative impact on self-perception has given rise to eating disorders as well, among not only female teenagers, but boy teenagers as well. According to an article published, "Eating Disorders Soar Among Teens and Social Media is to Blame," published in the independent UK news website, the amount of youngsters and teenagers that seek help for their eating disorders has raised by 110% in the past 3 years. The availability of social media pressures pressures young teens into having wrong idea of what beautiful it really is. All this have triggered the increase of rates of minors suffering from health and from eating disorders and even having suicidal thoughts. Now, in conclusion, the negative aspects of exposure of youngsters to social media have proven to surpass the positive aspects of it, such as the points that I mentioned, the content, the violent and pornographic content, the idealized beauty perceptions, and so on. But there's also positive effects to social media as well that cannot be that cannot be overcome. According to an article of benefits and risks of ill children and adolescents using media by Ilda Tartari, published by the European Scientific Journal in 2015, studies have shown that social media has affected children and teenagers positively in a way that it increased their communication skills and technological skills as well. But then social media causes all the problems that I discussed as well. The fact that social media has some positive aspects to it as well is obviously not doubtable and unquestionable. But then so books and websites and all these other programs that can be used instead, which all have electronic versions as well, which can familiarize them with technology. Now, next time you log into your Facebook or your Instagram account and you see inappropriate content, I want you to ask yourself, is that what you really want our young generation to be exposed to? Thank you.
Thank you.